going to start off with a word of prayer after the anthems. And for our purposes, I'm glad to note that Monsignor Isaiah Mayombo has accepted to say for us the opening prayer. And then Sheikh Abdul Hakim, the district Qadi, will say the closing prayer at the end. So may I please request everyone to be upstanding first for the anthems.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Nakutambo mukama waitu,
Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us. We thank you for enabling us all to turn up here for all that is prepared for us in this meeting. We ask you to be with us, bless all the programs that are made for this day, bless the day ahead of us. May it be fruitful, enriching, and inspiring for us as we are here to learn, to share, and to get new knowledge in different things. This is our prayer through Christ our Lord.
Okay, first off, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. I think we should kickstart our day. Our key host for this event is the board chairperson of the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, but he will be introduced appropriately shortly. Maybe just to start off, before you received this invitation, how many people had heard about Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda? Before the letter. You know, God is watching, so let's be truthful. That's just about half. And in academics, we are just on pass mark. That's 50%. And yet, this is a government agency. Therein lies one of the purposes for our gathering today. But to set us rolling, let me take a quick moment to introduce the DPF team. The board will be introduced by the substantive board member, and then I'll run you through what our program for this morning is. May I request the DPF team, except those at the Secretariat, those who are nearby, please come closer. You introduce yourself and what it is that you do at the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Let me start off.
My name is Angela Kiriawire Kanyima. I am the Director, Legal and Board Secretary. Thank you very much for coming.
My name is Bala Musempala. I'm the Director, IT, Deposit Protection Fund. I'm happy to be here. You're welcome.
My name is Felix Nsimomwe, and I'm the Manager, Board Secretariat at the Deposit Protection Fund. Glad to see you all here, and most welcome.
My name is Godwin Agaba, IT Department for the Deposit Protection Fund. I hope to leave you with the Empako. Thank you so much.
I am called Fortunate Mwekambi, Senior Officer Accounts Operations. I come from here Empako Yanga Kiki. Ndi mwana hano enzaro ya Toro. Asemerwa kubarora.
Everyone, my name is Rachel Akech, Customer Service Assistant in the Communications Department. You're most welcome.
My name is Esther Njangali Asimwe in the Communications Department. I'm the Senior Officer Corporate Affairs, and I also come from this land, Betnyo Empako Yange ni Abori. You're welcome.
Amen. My name is Betty Namatovu. I'm the Senior Officer Information Resources in the Communications Department. You're most welcome.
And my name is Patrick Ezaga. I am the Director of Communications at the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. You're all very welcome. I carried Fortunate and this one tactically because at some point, there are certain things that need to be broken down into the local language. But since yesterday, I have also been working very hard to find a way of introducing myself as someone with the roots here also. I'm still exploring the opportunities. I started off by going to see some cave yesterday, and unfortunately I didn't reach there, but there's a very famous cave somewhere. You know what? That one. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important day for us, and for us, we are happy that you're here because we sent you specific invitations, and I'd like to report to you, Mr. Chairman, that among us here, we have different categories of citizens of this country. We have the city leaders with us, we have the district leaders with us, we have the religious leaders from all denominations, they're here with us. Of course, your colleagues in the board, leaders from government agencies, the district local governments are here with us, from our security forces and all the other organs of security. They're also here, Mr. Chairman. The business community leaders all the way to the border associations are here. There's no way we could have left out the financial institutions. Banks are also here represented. I'm very sure at some point we'll get to see who is here with us and who is not. And then, of course, members of the media are also here represented. And the rest of the public are also here in different capacities. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you for this engagement, which we call the DPF Town Hall engagement. Our program, as I said, is very precise and to the point. It's a half-day program. After my remarks, a member of the board will come and give you an official welcome and also introduce the rest of the board members. And that should take us straight to the presentation from the chairperson of the board of directors of DPF. Thereafter, we go into the presentation, and once he has shared with us, we'll open up the floor for discussions. Somewhere along the way, there is tea, but we'd like to have a working tea as we go along, because at the end of the engagement, interaction during the question and answer session, we will wrap up this day with a meal that God has offered us in form of lunch. So give and take, if we are smart, anywhere from about midday 30, we should call this a wrap, and we would have delivered on the purpose for which we're here. So thank you very much for accepting to come. And for those who kept time, keep doing it that way. You never.
Our dear religious leaders, Christians and Muslims and or other faiths who are here, we honor you, and we are very, very pleased that people of God are here to bless our interaction this morning. We welcome even other members from different sectors, from the military and all walks of life. We are all people of the same calling, but walking in different paths leading to the same destination of serving the nation in our different capacities, but to the best of our abilities. So all of you participants from all different walks of life, you are dearly and happily appreciated for sparing the time to come and share with us Development Finance Department and Deposit Protection Fund areas, what we intend to reach out to the people to appreciate the importance and role of Deposit Protection Fund so that we can grow our country in an orderly and systematic manner, especially in the areas of finance. Because as you know, everybody wants money, but money is a very delicate item which needs to be handled and spent with care. Allow me, at a later stage, we shall go into details in the nitty-gritty of DPF. But allow me at this juncture to introduce the board members who are with us here. I begin with the biggest drum. Incidentally, he's also a son of the soil, our chairman of the board, Mr. Patrick Kagoro Apuli. Okay, Apuli. And Empower. I hope we shall also be honored to have the Mpako. But my Mpako, me amwemurangira. Our chair, Mr. Patrick Kagoro Apuli, is, as I told you earlier on, or intimated, he is one of the most celebrated members in the DPF area, and incidentally comes from this area of Uganda. So as one time when we were studying, I had a friend of mine, Augustine Kayonga, we studied together at A-level and the campus, and says wise men come from Toro. I don't know whether it is. But we are, those who have interacted with, you might be inclined to say yes. Patrick Kagoro is an intelligent man. And because of his intelligence, DPF has grown from strength to strength and is reaching all areas of the country and even beyond. So we appreciate his services, and will come at later after me to make presentations so that you hear his voice. And I'm sure by the end of the session of his presentation, we shall be in concurrence. So without wasting much of your time, because I'm sure you might have other engagements, and we are all busy people, and busy people are good people. So please, would you kindly request to welcome him with a round of applause, our chairman, Mr. Patrick Kagoro Apuri. I invoke and I pray to God, wishing you his wonderful blessings this morning.
Waitu nimbatangira muno ambitinisa byanyu. Nimanyira representative wa RDC omnyoro Alan Wamuha Adiri webali muno kwija semerirwe haroho of course tuli haitaka tuli ombusinge bwo mukama wa Toro oyo kabambe iguru haroho one of the administrators Tom Mugara nikutangira muno webale kufikiriza kwija umusobozi wawe no kubazana abantu bawe webale muno abakuru bedini bona nimbatangira indora abandi bajoire kurungi muno mwebale kwija nimunyetegereza ururimi rwange. Oh, wonderful, that is good. Twinaho n'omuntu mukuru munanya kulinda obusinge nawe nimutangira roho mugenzi w'itono akasoma nawe timanyire inspector general or regional police commander baitu ajoira asemire muno yemerora mu cyabantu bawo gambe obusinge bwingi no rolero singe webale muno kwija kandi webale no kwijuka mugenzi wawe wasomere nawe hati tuinaho abantu abakuru muno abakora na banks abakora na financial institutions nimbasaba mwimiche mkono.
Chairman, it may be useful for people to know which banks are here.
Aha. Nimbasaba mwemere muintroducing nimwetegerezo rutoro bitoso kuija toro tamanyere rutoro kangire ni mwina nempako murani murugahero. Okay.
Ebale muno amabara nibanyeta Chance Kenneth empako arali branch manager KCB Bank Fort Portal branch.
Ibara Barros Roger branch manager Post Bank Fort Portal branch.
Ibala Atkwasabe relationship officer Bank of Africa.
Thank you. Ibara Rosetti Ahura operations supervisor Finance Trust Bank.
Thank you. Amabara Moses Mbabazi Murungi, team leader Bank of Uganda, Rundi branch manager Bank of Uganda Fort Portal branch.
My name is Tuheyo Absalom, a team leader financial inclusion at Centenary Bank Fort Portal branch. Thank you.
Good morning. Amabara Kabahuma Susan Amoti. I'm a personal banker Fort Portal branch salary.
Wonderful. Mwebale muno. Mwebale muno. Abo no barukulira sente zanyu. Haruhundi yenyuma kuli. Okay.
Amabara ni nyocha amanywa Silva. General Manager Kihondo Tukwatanize Sako.
Thank you. Mwebali nywena. I intentionally started by talking in Rutoro to emphasize that that is my first language. English is my second language. Like the MC said, I was born here. And I will end up here one day. And I'm proud of my district. Ningera Tom Nohur. When we came early in the morning, this room was empty. I got worried. They said, are these people coming? I said, Patrick, did you invite the people? Did you tell them that they should keep time? What made me happy is people started coming in one by one. I noted most of our leaders kept time. And I was very touched. To me, that is a sign of respect, a sign of humility, that you are ready to serve by example and by always keeping time. Keeping time is extremely important. We are touched. I thought the hall would not get full, but it is now 3/4 full. It means you took this very seriously. I thank you very much. Yes, I'm Patrick Kagoro. I was given an assignment to operationalize the Deposit Protection Fund when we started way back in 2017 by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Matia Kasaija. And I bring greetings from the Minister of Finance. One assignment, every time we talked to him, one assignment he gave us, said, please go around the country, talk to the people, talk to the opinion leaders, let them know about the Deposit Protection Fund. The Deposit Protection Fund is a form of insurance to ensure that the financial sector is stable, that all of you, or the people of Uganda, at least keep their money with the financial institutions, because it is safe on that side. But in the event that the financial institution goes under, then we have enough money to pay the depositors up to the insured amount, as I will be elaborating. Now, the form of my presentation, I think, is overhead. I'll give the background, give the genesis of DPF, the role and functions. We'll talk about the governance structure. We'll talk about why we exist and what our mission is. And we look at funding, how we get our money. and the coverage. And then we look at what we are taking home. Then we'll have questions and answers later on, and we'll give some clarifications. Why Deposit Protection Fund? The Deposit Protection Fund, in a way, originated in the United States of America way back after the First World War. The Americans have to find a way of funding. Okay, that I hold my mic closer. Can you hear me now? Okay. So the Deposit Protection Fund started way back, or was founded way back, or the entire concept in the 1930s, starting with America, the Federal Reserve Bank. They show it fit because there was banks used to close and people would lose their money. So the government of the day thought it fit that there should be a form of insurance to ensure that if there was a run or the bank went under, the depositors would get their money back up to a certain amount. The idea was to provide or to give confidence and trust in the banking system. That was the most important thing. Then later on in 2002, there is an association called IADI, the International Association of Deposit Insurers, was formed, and they came up with 16 core principles with 19 members and 8 regional committees to harmonize. Like if you're an accountant, you have what they call international financial reporting standards or international accounting standards to guide the preparation of your financial statements. The same thing with IADI, they came up with the 16 core principles how to run a deposit insurance scheme. Now, it came to be emphasized and to prominence in 2007, 2008, when there was a financial crisis, a global financial crisis. And the insurance or deposit insurance gained prominence at that point in time. You may remember Northern Rock. If you come here in the 1990s, there was Trust Bank, there was International Credit Bank, and there were quite a number of banks that went under, and you'd find queues, say, on Kampala Street, people lining up to withdraw their money just out of a mere rumor. And the purpose of the Deposit Protection Fund is to avoid panic and to avoid people having a run on the banks and getting worried that their money is getting sort of either stolen or lost, or they will never get it again. Now, when it comes to Uganda, I happened to be working in the central bank as a young officer then in the early 1990s. In 1993, the Bank of Uganda Act came into force, making the Central Bank of Uganda very autonomous, and nobody's authority except maybe the board and the governor, without any other control whatsoever, although it is wholly owned by the government. So there was an act which was enacted, financial institutions. It was a statute, but eventually 2004 it became an act. In 1993, the Deposit Protection Fund was formed. At that time, as a young officer, I was tasked to keep the record of the Deposit Protection Fund. And we started off small. At that time, the insured amount per depositor was 3 million Uganda shillings. 3 million Uganda shillings at that time was close to $1,000 at that time. But in 2016, as I said earlier, the Financial Institutions Act came into force and emphasized or gave authority that the Deposit Protection Fund should be independent of the central bank, where it was originally being managed. Having retired from the central bank in 2015, when I attained the age of 60, I got a call that I should become the board chair. And you'll see the pictures of other board members. And I was tasked with operationalizing the fund. I was enjoying my retirement. I was a free man. Here I am being called by government that I should chair this body. At that time it was coming to about 400 billion shillings. So come and manage this fund. Asked the minister, where do I start? So that's not my problem. That's why I'm telling you, go and operationalize the fund. So, oh my God, what do I do? Well, having worked in the central bank and having known about the Deposit Protection Fund and having managed the accounts of the Deposit Protection Fund and having paid some of the foreign institutions like International Credit Bank, Trust Bank, Tefe Bank, and the famous Greenland Bank, I knew roughly what it takes. So I woke up one day and walked into the office of the governor, the central bank governor, Professor Emmanuel Mutumusime Mutebile, and told him my story and what has happened. And since he was party to making sure that the Deposit Protection Fund exits the central bank. So I asked him for staff. Can you give me staff on secondment? So which staff do you want? Having worked there, I knew who worked hard and I knew who would deliver this mission. I tried quite a number of people. Said, go and identify the people. I'll give them to you on secondment for, say, 2 years. Good enough. I identified 11 of them to start with at least 4 departments. And one of them, whom I knew very well, as a hard worker, we called her in the bank the Iron Lady in a way, is none other than Julia Claire Oyet. Julia, stand up. When we talked to her, and I also talked through her bosses, she was hesitant. But fortunately, she accepted. Left a good paying job, but again on secondment to come and operationalize the fund. Together with a few others, Joseph went back, he was our legal officer. Some of them didn't. There was the IT, Balaam. This man here is an IT guru. He's also a pastor. But then we started off with 11. Later on, about 3-4 years ago, after putting all the manuals in place, all the systems in place, we went out and recruited mainly from other financial institutions. And we got our board secretary, Kaima. You call yourself Kaima, but your original name is Angela Kiriawire. I'm sure you know the Kiriawires, lawyers, doctors. She accepted to be our board secretary after Joseph had gone back. So from 11, today we are over 50 strong. A very strong force. And I'm proud of that. And we've grown the fund, as you'll see, from about 400 billion currently to about just lately over 1.4 trillion. And our target size within the next 2 years is to reach 2 trillion Uganda shillings so that we can increase the deposit insurance limit. Now, our vision, we want to be excellent in deposit protection. To do this, we benchmark with different entities like the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation. We have nearby here the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation. We are encouraging other states within the region like Rwanda, and Julia is leading the way to start similar deposit institutions. Rwanda is about to start its own. Julia was telling me South Africa, which is highly developed, it was still in the central bank. So eventually a law has been passed by the Republic of South Africa government to also operationalize their fund. And Julia will be flying over when? This week, next week? End of this week, to give a keynote address to encourage them to start, and then, of course, show them what we went through and sort of to manage expectations. Zimbabwe definitely was ahead of us. We learned a lot from Zimbabwe. We learned a lot from Japan. We learned a lot from Taiwan. We learned a lot from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and also the IADI. Now, we exist because we want to foster public confidence through protection of the depositors, strictly of the institutions regulated by the central bank, regulated and licensed. There are small pamphlets. I had one, yeah. There are some pamphlets here. Please read them here. Read them in your spare time, or be our ambassadors and tell people about the Deposit Protection Fund, so that they don't keep money in the mattresses. They should keep them with the financial institutions, keep them through those financial intermediaries, so that your money is safe. Because this money also helps the banks. Of course, they don't keep it in the vaults. They also invest it, they loan it out, they make some money, and they lend it out for the economy to grow, for those people who are very enterprising and need money, but they don't have enough of it to do what they want to do. Our core values, we call them right. Okay, mainly integrity, transparency, and excellence. So, the roles. Our major role is to pay depositors of protected financial institutions in unlikely event of that institution closing. You saw recently there was that small bank, EFC. It closed, but we've been able to pay almost everybody. Just a few are still remaining because we want the particulars. The particulars do not tally with the records, especially the national IDs. Sort of, they don't tally. Some people don't have IDs, and if you don't have an ID, then we cannot pay you. The law also says we can be a liquidator if appointed by the central bank. And then the law also says we do any other duty that is conferred upon us by the law. So in a way, we contribute to financial stability through public awareness like we are doing today. IADI core principle number 1 talks about publicity. Publicity. Go out to the public. Preach deposit insurance. Tell the people about deposit insurance. Not good to keep money in mattresses. Not keep money in the pots or buried under. Keep the money in the financial institutions. Because these financial institutions actually are the people who contribute. They are the organizations which contribute to this deposit protection fund. They contribute about 0.25% of the average weighted deposits of the previous year. They contribute that into the fund, which we invest eventually. This leads us to our governance, our corporate governance structure. It says in line with the provisions of FIA, Financial Institutions Act 2004, which was amended recently in 2016, we have 7 board members, of which I'm privileged to be the head, the chair. Now, the composition of the 7 members, there are 2 members who represent the contributing institutions. There are 2 members who represent the public. Present here are 2, Roy Nambogo, and Roy Nambogo is a very seasoned lawyer in private practice. When she's not present at the board, we miss her because she always brings in the legal angle. She brings us to order that, hey, you're getting out of line. You should follow some of these principles. And of course, Mwana Papa, he represents the public. He's also a teacher. He loves teaching. We call him Mwalimu as well. He also runs a school. How many students? 500. He has 500. And he's always sitting in that school teaching the young and the old alike. He's very passionate about imparting knowledge to others. Okay, then, yeah, the pictures are given on the overhead. You have on the far left of your left, that is Roy. I've introduced Roy. If we come on this side on the right, that is also a legal person. That is Susan Kanyamiwa. Now, Susan is also a lawyer. She works with the central bank representing the Governor Bank of Uganda. She's the one who says, if you check on your money, if you have some notes there, you'll see her signature together with that of the governor. So she's a very powerful lady. Now, Kalemo, you have seen. This is Dr. Andrew Barra, representing the micro-deposit financial institutions. Very seasoned. Next, I'm sure the bankers. Do you know this one, bankers? Aha, that is Mr. Wilbrod Owori, used to be an executive officer of some of the banks. He's in charge of Uganda, he's the executive director, Uganda Bankers Association. By law, he represents all the financial institutions, the banks mainly. And then we have John Byarhanga, representing the PSST, Permanent Secretary Treasurer and Secretary Treasurer. Now, these members are extremely brilliant. You need to listen them talk. They give wise counsel, and they have managed to grow the fund up to where it is currently. Now, the senior management, some of them have introduced themselves. Julia gives direction. She recently got a PhD to do with the banking. She loves reading. She reads all the time and always improving on the knowledge. Next is Alan Retabe. Alan Retabe is a mathematician. He's a chartered financial analyst. He's in charge of our investments. When we receive the money, he's the one which manages the portfolio and knows where to place the money or when to liquidate. And in the event, say, like recently, EFC came, was under liquidation, we had to pay. He's the one who directs us how to utilize the money. I've already introduced Balaam, the pastor. He's in charge of the IT. He has put a lot of IT systems in place which are operating. And Patrick, what's your Mpako, you said? Your Mpako.
I'm Westerner from West Nile.
So before he leaves here, please give him a Mpako. You'll be very proud of it. I've already introduced Angela. Angela, do you have a Mpako? Yes, I do. What's your Mpako? That is from Ben. So, you see, what Angela is saying, that in her home she's the man. she gives orders, and the husband is very humble and follows. Okay. Then we have Moses Appel. This one in the middle. Moses Appel is a very gentle, very calm. The Babito come from his region, from Achol and Lango. He's the one in charge of human resource and recruiting, counseling, appraisals. That's the guy who is in charge. Next is Dr. Michael Rugemwa. Michael Rugemwa, until recently, he has been the chief internal auditor, also keeps us in check, keeps looking at different systems to ensure that we comply and we are in line with what we are supposed to do. When we get off course, definitely guides the board. We had one gentleman, Yusuf Mukibi, but he has gone back to the central bank. He was in charge of finance and operations. But Dr. Rugemwa, also a chartered accountant, has been moved from internal audit back to finance and operations. Okay, next we go to membership and coverage. I mentioned this briefly, so I will just fly over them. The membership is mainly institutions which are deposit taking and licensed and supervised by the Central Bank of Uganda. We currently have 32 members. That's the commercial banks currently are 32. We have 25 credit institutions. Sorry, we have 25 commercial banks. We have 4 credit institutions and 3 micro deposit taking institutions. The protected deposits are currently 10 million per depositor per supervised contributing institution. That small booklet gives all the details of exactly what to do in the event of a bank closure. Definitely people wonder if 10 million is very little. What is interesting is, as you see down here, 98% of all the deposit accounts are completely covered. The 2% are the people who are mainly above the 10 million. You'll find if you go down, Julia will be telling you 3 million, 5 million and below are the majority. So we still have a lot to do to make sure that we keep the money in the financial institutions. Okay. Now, how do we fund the fund? Premiums. I mentioned just at the beginning that we look at the 2% of the average deposits liabilities. That is the money which you deposit with the financial institutions. That's the previous year, and that premium is paid into the fund. Okay, and of course the fund we invest mainly in government securities, and we earn quite a bit of money, out of which 10%, close to 10%, although we capped it at about 20%, we use it for administrative expenses. So what am I saying? Is we need you to go out there. I know all of you here are definitely having bank accounts, but you need to preach to all the other members, especially since you're opinion leaders, that they should keep their money safe with the financial institutions. What do we take home? Number one is that the depositors, nobody takes any money from your deposits to put into the fund. And then we do not handle depositor complaints, we only educate. We don't deal with the complaints emanating from issues to do with financial institutions. The financial institutions know exactly what to do. They have the expertise and they have the skills. And all depositors of contributing institutions are regulated by the central bank. That is for your comfort, that the banks are safe. They are sort of all the time being monitored, and that they keep on track. That currently the limit per depositor, the insured deposit, is 10 million per depositor. And the DPF pays per depositor, not per account. Now, if you read through this little book, it's very clear. I don't know which number. If you have, say, 10 accounts with one financial institution, and one is reading 100 million, another is 1 million, another 2 million, do we pay per account? The answer is no. We combine that account. You're one depositor and you'll be paid as such. But if you have a spouse and then you have maybe another saving scheme with the brother, well, those will be taken as 3 different accounts. But if it is you alone, then it is amalgamated and it is looked at one. Dollar accounts also properly explained in those little booklets, in those flyers, the dollars will be converted into Uganda shillings and also paid as such. The key thing is, like you saw EFC, there was no panic because the messages were very clear that we'll pay everybody, and everybody was paid except those whose details or particulars are not very clear. The key thing is you should know your bank very well. If you're not sure, you have questions, go to your bankers and ask questions. It's very important to avoid rumors because rumors always cause bank runs. There is a time when I was still working, there was a rumor after Trust Bank, I think, had closed. Then somebody started a rumor. You know, social media is very weird. That Housing Finance Bank is going to close tomorrow. And there were very long queues on Kampala Road. That time it was still around the traffic lights. People lined up to withdraw their money. The manager was very interesting. He told them, look, all of you line up, I'm going to pay you all your money. Don't panic. We have all the money you need. If you can come tomorrow, you can come at night, you can spend the other night, we'll still pay you. So when they had that message, some confidence grew. The queues disappeared. And they went away. And of course, the central bank came in and assured the public that, look, this bank is very safe and nothing will happen. Now, you saw recently with the EFC, and I would like to thank definitely the NRM government, the wisdom mainly of the president, of course, definitely he came in. Now, when EFC was closed, as Deposit Protection Fund, we paid as per law up to 10 million. Now, there are some depositors who had above 10 million Uganda shillings. The government said, as guided by the president and the minister, said, look, the people should not lose their money. Even those above 10 million, let the government pay. So the central bank paid the deposits above. If say you had 100 million, as DPF we pay 10 million, then the 90 million is paid by the government. So people got their money back. So that also helps to build confidence. And this started when I was a young officer in 1998. Greenland Bank, we paid 3 million shillings per deposit. But the public was so concerned, disturbed, and then the government also decided that they should pay all the depositors and pay all the deposits over and above the 10 million. So that was done. Of course, we call it you call it backstop funding. The backstop funding, anything above 10 million, is with the government. We negotiate with government. We go into memorandum of understanding. Should that arise, then, of course, we have to pay. Okay. Now, the question arises, if I have loans, what happens? If you have loans, fortunately or unfortunately, we deduct the loans and pay you net of those loans. If you have 20 million of loan outstanding and we are paying you, and you have, say you have maybe 10 million exactly on the account, we deduct the 10 million, we'll pay nothing, and we tell you, you still owe this failed bank 10 million shillings. Then the liquidation process starts. They appoint a liquidator, and the liquidator will follow you up to make sure you pay the balance of the 10 million Uganda shillings. Okay? The other issues of take-home messages continued. To individuals, NIN means National Identification Number, and an alternative bank account or mobile money. There are quite a number of people we paid using mobile money. But that, your number, the telephone number, your mobile number should tally with what is recorded in the National Identification Register with NIRA. That's extremely important. So we have there's single customer view, then we have the particulars of all the individuals. Once all those particulars are in order, then payment becomes very easy. We've had issues to say you find 2 accounts or 3 accounts. One reading, Monsignor Isaiah Mayombo, one account, then another account, the same bank, Monsignor Mayombo Isaiah, then another account, Isaiah Mayombo, Adieri. So it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. We are saying all that should be synchronized into one name, which is in line with your national identification number. So that if the name comes up, it is one and it tallies all across. It's a tough job, but we are reaching there and we'll get it. Okay, what about foreigners who don't have IDs? Definitely the passports are extremely important. Okay, joint accounts, I mentioned the joint accounts. Company accounts is also the same. We normally look at the URSB register, same as trusts. We look also at the registers. With that, I'd like to thank you for being very attentive, and I hope you have learned more about the Deposit Protection Fund. I thank you very much. Thank you.
As I told you, ours is very precise and to the point. We don't come here and go into political statements and so on and so forth. Chairman has, in a very succinct manner, summarized for you what Deposit Protection Fund is about. Now, what we're going to do, because of the need to communicate, and for us in communication, we say communication is not effective if there is no what? Feedback. It's a two-way channel, isn't it? So in our program, we are supposed to go into the question and answer session. But if we do that, it will take us to break tea and lunch at the same time, which may be a bit difficult. So we have agreed that we will take some 30 minutes for a very quick health break. The tea is ready. There are 2 serving points. Let's make it a working tea. You serve and you come back to your seat, and then we shall come back to do the question and answer session. And the other thing we have also learned is when the Q&A starts, some people still have no idea. But after 3 questions, then they become very brilliant and formulate questions which were asked 30 minutes before. This is now just free feedback. This is not to gag you, but to just say, I mean, looking at my audience, you look organized. So let's be organized so that we serve the point. Just one-liner. What is that one message you picked from the chairman's presentation? Now we are recalling, huh? Very good. Only 3 volunteers. Let me see the courageous one.
Thank you. My name is Muguda Murungi Apuli, and for me, one takeoff from the chairman's communication is the fact that I don't have to worry in the event a bank closes. You know, I heard of the news of Green Bank. So I was a little bit worried that when my bank, where my money, I presume, is actually kept, closes, what will happen to me? So I see that in the roles of DPF, and that is pay depositors in the event my bank closes. However, the other, I will bring it as a question. Thank you.
The other will come as a question. Hold on to the questions. I'm on take home. Pass to your neighbor. Thank you very much. His key message is relax, don't papa. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm called Angel Bahawa from
Angel?
Angel Bahawa.
Okay.
From Life FM. My take home was I should not keep my money under the mattress. I should really trust the banks. The truth is we had issues with banks, But now if we are sure that once we deposit our money, we can get it anytime we want, even when the bank has decided to get out.
Thank you.
So to me that was, and then most importantly is also telling my grandmother, my old mother, that please, if you have your money, it is safe there with the banks. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's important. Now you realize why we also invite the banks to be here. Some of the questions sometimes are directed at the banks, and it is important for you to come. For those of you who are here, thank you very much for coming. Your self-introduction served two purposes. It was accountability to the depositors. Which banks you need to keep your money in, they are here. So you are marketing yourselves. That is the first purpose. On our side, we were doing a small roll call. Yes.
One key message I picked from Chairman's presentation, especially after he shared about EFC, which went down and you've been paying. He did mention that we need to realign the details on our national IDs with our account details so that they read the same. That way it's easier to be paid when the time comes. Thank you.
Very important. Very, very important. You are one person at any one time legally. There was a hand here. I just want to use the prerogative of the authority I have to give him 1 moment, one take-home message, then we go to the others. Thank you.
And best of all, I've understood that DPF is not concerned with the problems in banks.
Very
if
important
we have
also.
our complaints, we should go to the banks, not to DPF.
Absolutely.
So that one is very important for me.
Thank you. That's also an important take-home message, because especially those of us in comms departments, we receive complaints because of the name of the organization, Deposit Protection. So people assume we are protectors. And to protect, you must be a Kanyama or you must be in his industry and so on. So sometimes we get these things coming from you, but ultimately, like he has rightly stated it, our interface is not direct with the customers. Our interface is through the banks, because that's where you transact. So if the bank is slow, if the bank's processes are not effective, they are the ones who are responsible for giving you misery. And when you're solving a problem, you start from the root cause, isn't it? So for us as DPF, we support you, but in a different way. Thank you very much for that highlight. You see, that's why it was nice to give him an opportunity. Mr. Chairman, you can see that your message, I think, sank. About 3-4 key messages that have been take-homes. And I just want to emphasize, for lack of anything, that aspect of the national IDs is very important. People take it for granted. And now, I think effective this year, most national IDs are expiring, isn't it? So this is also probably a golden opportunity. If you've been struggling to correct that, now that we're going to the renewal processes, this is a chance for us to make sure we are streamlined. Okay, questions are now open. Any comments? We'll take them in batches of 5. Is 5 okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have received the first 4. 5. Let's take the first 5. My CEO will lead the responses to those. Then if there are more, we'll come back to them. It would be nice you indicate your name and then straight to the question.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead.
My name is Edward Mujisha. I see you're talking about deposits, and most of the banks don't provide the incentives that depositors need to put money there. You find that most of the interests may be received on a fixed deposit, probably less than 10%. So you find now that there are other institutions that are taking deposits. And of late, there are so many. You have unit trusts, mutual funds, and all that. So I'm wondering, how far does DPF go? For example, if an insurance company fails, do they have a hand in that, or probably now people who are putting money in insurance companies on their own? Thank you.
Now, my concern is on the 2%. Probably that's where some of us belong. Now, I am worried in the event where we have a government that is less sympathetic to the depositors. What will happen in that event? Are there some efforts being taken to put in place a policy to protect the deposits of the 2%?
That is those who are above the 10 million. Okay.
My name is Nyakahuma Charles. I've been doing a lot of mass mobilization in some funds and governance. This one goes to Arali Kagoro. Arali, I have heard you before today, and I can label you as a wise man in the region. When we are listing the wise men here, we list you. You may not know.
Congratulations, sir.
You talked about an issue concerning government. By the way, I'm the father of Fortunate Mwekambi, the beneficiary. Yeah.
Oh.
He's one of my young sons. And I'm glad you are keeping him there.
That's nice.
You talked an issue of governance, that you are enjoying your, retirement, and you were called upon to come and chair. Mr. Chairman, for us, we are used to governance through assemblies. You go to assembly and then they get the leadership. You even elect. But for you said you are called upon by personnel, top positions, automatic. You will elaborate more on that. The other one is a concern of survival and continuation of DPF. Yeah, it is answered. It is answered that you depend on premiums, that the contributing institutions which are known and the number was given contribute to the premiums. That is how insurances operate. But then here, I am beaten by one. I have read the whole brochure, by the way, and I have internalized it. That this money is then invested in assets, have underlined assets. I thought you'd talk the next, as in practice we are used to, that with the minimal risk, such as government of Uganda treasury bills, those are the risk-free areas we are using. But then the income from the investment is reinvested. Now, how do you operate? How do you operate when you are just investing, reinvesting? How do you meet your operations? This is very important. True. Because we may think you depend on premiums. Those are the two issues, Mr. Chairman, and I will be happy to get the answers. Thank you.
Proceed, sir. Thank you very much. Alan Bamha is my name. Now, you DPF people, I don't know why you want to operate like God and his angels, protecting us when we cannot see you, when we can't interface with you. Because these private banks have got their own confusion. Imagine a bank has a confusion, it is winding up, and we are just left at the mercy of God, whom we cannot see, whom we can't interface with, until they go to the Supreme Court and they decide the case now, make 10 million. What will be happening with it? I think we need to interface with you, whether you want or not, because with God we interface with prayer, but for you, you must put some linkage where we, the depositors, must be able to really be able to gauge your legal protection, the weapons you have to protect us. Then number two, my query is on the some SMEs operating above the 10 millions. Now you are leaving it to operate at the mass of the confusion of these banks, because you stop at 10 M. But Ugandans are very rich. Really, I don't know why you are lowering us to this level. So this should be upped, and I think you should go to around $1 billion. You protect us by $1 billion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Kusemura Fortunate. In the brochure, the commonly asked question number 16, does the DPF mandate extend to SACCOs? You said yes. For SACCOs that have savings of 1.5 billion and institutional capital of 500 million. Now, for SACCOs that are below that institutional capital and the savings, how are its members protected? Because I see you have said that UMRA is the one which is regulating those SACCOs.
Yes.
But however, there is no clear law about protecting the deposits of these members.
Okay.
So for us, what shall we be telling our members? That if you keep your money with us, it will be safe. because now if some are here, they will run away from us and go to commercial banks where they have DPF.
Uraire muta abarungi mwevale muno kwija empako yange akiki. My board chairman chose Akiki because you remember he said that I am an iron lady, and he told me that Akiki is for people who don't joke around. If something has to be done, it must be done, whatever the case may be. So I'm also standing on the existing protocol, but I'd like to recognize the presence of the district and city leaders. I'd also like to recognize all the religious and those from the kingdom of Toro, the bankers, ladies and gentlemen, in your respective capacities. So I've enjoyed the questions that you have asked. I think they are going to help us to understand better the role of the DPF. And the first question came from Edward, where he was talking about insurance companies. Maybe I will take that one. Currently, the Uganda, the agency that regulates insurance companies, IRA, Insurance Regulatory Authority, is looking at putting in place what they call a policy holders compensation scheme, which will also protect those investors. So that is work in progress. There was a question that I should have started with, the one for my chairman, and I think I'd let the chairman first answer the question on why Apuli was chosen to be the chairman of the board. So Chair, maybe over to you.
But humbly, I thank you for counting me among people who have wisdom. I didn't consider myself as such because I went to school. And that school gave us one motto: to serve and not to be served unto. To minister and not to be ministered unto. It has been my guiding principle. I don't elevate myself or show my weight around, no. I'm like Adier here, he's always humble, but he's highly respected. Adier, I don't know whether you knew that. That's how it is. Now, why me? That's the exact question I asked when I was told. I said, why me? Now, it all boils down to your circle of influence. When I was in the central bank, we dealt a lot with the Minister of Finance. There was a high-level meeting, which was always chaired by the Minister, the Governor Bank of Uganda, the Deputy Governor, and the key important people in the ministry. And I happened to be the secretary at that point in time. And of course, I worked as Executive Director of Finance. That's when I retired. I dealt a lot with the ministry, keeping the government accounts. And of course, when they would mess up, you would end up in Kosase or Park answering questions. But maybe that's where they saw me. And when they are looking for board people to serve on government-related agencies, I think they don't advertise. They don't advertise in the papers. They look for individuals. Names are submitted, and I think they zero down. I was just humbled and fortunate. Maybe not fortunate because I wanted my freedom. Okay? They asked me, can you? I really wanted my freedom because I had worked for over 30 years, and I wanted also to enjoy my life. The pension we earn from the central bank is just enough to live on. Okay? But I had to come and serve. Because of the school motto, to serve and not to be served unto. It's not even about sitting allowance, it's not about retainer. No. You've been called to serve, stand up and go. There's a gentleman in the Bible, was it? Moses, he didn't know how to talk. Who didn't know how to talk? Eh? He don't know. Aaron or Moses? Aha. When God told him, go and lead my people, what did he say? Pastor, what did he say?
Giving an excuse that he can't talk because he stammers. That's what he was telling God. Yes.
So even me, I stammer. So I gave an excuse. I said, Minister, no, I have retired. He said, that's the very reason I have chosen you. I gave all sorts of excuses. Then he said, it is an order. He said, how did he put it? He said, it is voluntary compulsory. So, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I've given you an assignment. The rest is history. But I'm humbled.
Thank you very much, Chair. There was a question on how do we finance ourselves, and this is the father of Fortunate. I'd like Angela to answer that one.
But what happens is that we do get all these institutions that you see here that are regulated by the Bank of Uganda. They give a premium at the end of every year, a percentage of what they earn. Now, when that money is given to the fund, that money is invested. And we invest in treasury bills and bonds, lands of government that are safe. So don't say that I have my circle, you come and invest with us and we grow it. No, we only invest with the instruments that are issued by the Bank of Uganda, by the government through the Bank of Uganda. Now, when that money comes back, the interest that we get is what we use to run the fund, but only up to 20% of that interest that we get, not more than that. And the board monitors us on how much we spend, and we report on a quarterly basis to the board as to the percentage that we have reached. And you can have the confidence that we have never even reached 15% of that investment income. So with the able guidance of Chairman, we are very frugal with the money that has been entrusted to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. There was a question on circles. Who protects the smaller circles? Since we explained that the larger ones will be under Bank of Uganda very soon and they'll come under our protection. But Bala, maybe you could help to answer the question on what about the smaller circles? Who protects them?
Thank you, CEO. Now, for small circles, that's those who are below 1.5 billion. The Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority is the one that is in charge of the small circles. However, there is also a law that they are working on to make sure that they are better protected, and that will be a good incentive for the people who manage their monies in the small circles. Thank you.
Okay, so it's also work in progress. So DPF is leading the way, and the other sectors of the financial sector are also putting in place similar schemes to protect the people who are depositing or investing in the various schemes. There was a question on interface and DPF. Are we behaving like God? You say you give protection, but you don't see God. I think let me ask Patrick Izaga to explain how God is trying to come down to the human beings. Patrick.
All right, thank you very much, CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the first answer is your presence in this room. This is the starting point, because I don't want to use the age of the institution. It's a government agency, but it's not yet one of those which has been around for so long. So one of our primary, and I think DPF is one of the only government agencies whose regulation specifically speaks to public awareness. We are enjoined and duty-bound to ensure that every corner of this country receives information about the fact that their money is protected. The end result is supposed to build confidence in the masses so that they move their money to the regulated financial institutions. So we have started the process. But as you know, it is very difficult to establish physical branch offices, say Fort Portal branch or something like that, because of the nature of the work we do. It's difficult to come and have a brick and mortar branch in every region at this stage. Maybe as the fund grows and the financial sector grows, that's a discussion for the future. But right now, we are trying to get to the public through engagements of this nature. The board has blessed us with a very elaborate communication strategy over the next 5 years. We have to be very present on the airwaves, in the FM stations, on the radios. So we have an elaborate program of coming out to reach the public so that God can come from the clouds down to earth. I submit.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. I think I'll take 2 questions in one, because there was what happens to the 2%, because the chairman said 98% you're below 10 million and below. What about the 2%? It ties in with the question on SMEs. Like you said, you'd have more money than that. So maybe just to re-emphasize the history of deposit protection and why it was put in place. Deposit protection has been put in place to protect the small, unsophisticated, uninformed depositor. In other words, the omuntu wa wansi, if you look at it. The person who will just take their money to a bank because they've seen the word bank. They don't really know. They might know it's regulated by the Bank of Uganda, but they don't really know, how do I track the performance of my institution? What do I hear from credible sources about my institution before I even open that account? Now, you who's an SME, or you who has more than 10 million, you're supposed to get interested in how your bank is performing, so that you put your money in a bank that you feel is performing to your satisfaction. And the Bank of Uganda severally has said the financial sector is strong, and it is strong. But you know that what happened to EFC. But have you seen the sector collapsing because of EFC? No. EFC was probably a struggling institution. But that is not information everybody will know. But if you're a depositor and you want to see which is the institution, do some research. And it's the reason why the Bank of Uganda insists that all the institutions that it regulates publish their financials in April. This month, you're going to start seeing financial statements in the newspapers. Don't throw them away and use them for sigiri. You get for your bank and try to understand. If you don't understand, ask your colleague, I'm seeing these are the financials. Do you think I should continue or I should go slow on this institution? So you also have a responsibility as the owners of that hard-earned money to put it in a place where you feel you're confident that this institution is doing well to your satisfaction. Now, a deposit insurer world over cannot protect all the deposits in the country. Why? Because you're going to lead into what we call moral hazard. These banks who are receiving your deposits can then find risky ways of managing those deposits, using the deposits, make money and disappear. Who will pay the depositors? It is the government of Uganda. And by the way, I wanted to say that the DPF being a government agency, when we promise that we're paying you 10 million, in case we don't have the money, government will give us the money, because that's a promise of the government of Uganda. So if the government of Uganda says we're going to pay all depositors as deposit insurance, when you have these private investors who are the banks who might misuse the deposits, when they take off, it's the government of Uganda to pay, and that is our money. Our taxes are going to be used to pay. That is why you, as depositors, you have the responsibility to ensure that you know where you're depositing your money. And also the bankers know that if anything happens, they'll come after us, because there's a certain percentage that is not going to be covered. So they will have to find a way of getting that money and paying to us. So that is the principle of deposit insurance. We can't cover all the deposits, because you can weaken then the financial sector, because we can easily lose money, and us, the taxpayers, will start paying for those deposits. Yes. So I don't know whether I've answered that question. So all of you go back. If you have above 10 million, know your bank. And that is what we're saying. Know your bank or know your financial institution. Don't leave it to other people to tell you where to bank. Thank you very much. Oh, I should have said mwebale muno. Mwebale muno.
Mwebale muno. Something like that. Let me not risk. We can take another round as we move towards the close.
Thank you, Chair Board and the entire board members and the DPF team. My question relates to when somebody has a loan with the bank. The chair told us that if you have a loan with the bank and the bank closes, DPF will follow you up to clear that money. But if I have, he explained that if you have 20 million loan and in your bank you have 20, he had to cancel there and showed how it will be, but still you'll pay back the other balance. Now my question is, supposing I'm having more than 20, I'm having 20 million with the bank and the bank closes, you give me 10. Will you also follow me up? Will you help me to recover the 10 when the assets of the bank are sold, or that's the end of me? Thank you.
Ekikaguzo ky'okubanza ogu yakikaguza ekindi kibeerinda kaguza oba kusiba bank mukagamba mukutwara miliyoni 10 ntubasanga nka sente ezintu zitunga tuta accounts zeitu already ziri mbaka nyakusibire amabara ntogali itu tuzitunga tuta sente ezi kandi ekindi amugambira obuntu kwa nyina loan ya milioni kama 20 banka yesiba nimbanza kuihaho milioni 10 nizigenda kuli haloni yange nimsigara nimontonga milioni 10 kandi nyowe obuntu kwa nyina milioni 3 banka ikachinga nompa milioni 10 nisigara nimbatonga milioni 2. Milioni 2 ezi nizunganta. Do I stand to lose, or that is my question?
I'm Chairman Wasileva from Kihondo Tukwatanije Sako. My question is, we have seen how rumors can impact on business and banks. My question reads, how is DPF going to help us on this?
There is a bank, I will not mention the name, for fear of tarnishing the image of that bank, which is known for losing customers' money. On several occasions, we have seen reports, we've heard people on TV. I personally have a friend whose money was withdrawn without his consent. When he went to the bank, he tried to withdraw money, money was not there. Only to find out wrong people had removed the money from that bank. How does DPF help to protect these customers' deposits in such kind of institutions? I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. I'll start with the one of what happens after the 10 million, and I have my legal counsel. I think this has a legal angle. So Angela, kindly advise the members on what happens to a depositor who has above 10 million. Is it the end of the road for him or her?
If you have above 10 million shillings, when a bank is closed by the Central Bank of Uganda, they go through the Bank of Uganda. What happens is you go through a process called liquidation. So the bank takes over, they go in, they appoint a liquidator, or they are the liquidator themselves, and they look into all the areas that relate to the bank. Now, if you have things like loans, Fortunate will touch upon it and explain in the local language. But then the bank looks and sees, what do you have relating? After they've paid you 10 million, what is your balance? minus all the other things that relate, and what the government is able, or the bank is able to retrieve from that bank, then they prioritize the payment back to the people. So they have priorities. The priority are the people who are in the bank, and they now pay you back the balance that is above the 10 million shillings. I'll give an example. EFC was closed, but you note that the Bank of Uganda has already paid those who had above the 10 million shillings. They have paid most of them. And just to re-emphasize what Chairman said and what my CEO has said, the issue of having proper information relating to you is very critical in you being paid quickly. So if you have to go, your name doesn't match with the names and doesn't match with, have your national ID, ensure your names are put properly, and guide how you want to be paid. But that one, Fortunate will elaborate a little more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. I think not all is lost after the 10 million, but sometimes, to tell the truth, sometimes the liquidation process can take a little bit longer because it's about selling the computers, selling the chairs, selling the land probably that the bank owned. So those processes can take time. So while you might be paid, it will take time, and that is not what you want because you have an SME that is operating and you need to pay depositors. That's why for your first priority, don't even think about what happens to after the 10 million. From here, you go and know your bank. Because waiting for after the 10 million can affect you because you have more than 10 million. The other question was for Fortunate. Fortunate, please, you can come here and answer.
Okay. I've been given full authority to answer the questions because I know the answers. So the gentleman asked a first question that when a bank is closed, where do we find you? You meaning DPF. And how do we get the money? So the second question was, it was related to someone who asked here that if I have 30 million and you pay me 10 million, when and where do I get the 20, which is the balance? So I will begin by answering the first question of when a bank is closed, where do we find you and how do we get there, the money? So I will answer him in a language he asked for better understanding. For those of you who might have wanted the same question, I will translate. So DPF nkekitongole nitusangwa mu Kampala mu Kibuga at Aha Towers, address 0 Hansi na Kasero Road na Raude Road na Kasero. Niyo address yaitu tuli emyaliro ebiri gwa kasatu no gwa mukaga sofa baitu esimu eze ziroho eyokutera yona ne bakuragira baitu sente tunuho kukira kuziha obutukuba banke kingire sente niturangira mu mpapura za makuru ha radio buli hamuntu nayo ja kwekango tukabagamba muno we shall ntumekinga sure buli kimu wakimanya sente mbero kujya kuziha hatukusanga na buli kimwe cyo kwetagisa kutunga sentezi to kuija kuburayo kuhakire no wahamhanda neja kugamba ngubaranga ababayene sente mu bankegi mugende hano mugende mukole kinu na kinu na kinu nuko utunge sente zawo then sente nozitunga mirunge ebiri rundi ogwao gundi ogosaziremu abakira noija kuleta endagirendi ya bank endi mbero ina account eri mabara gawe agali national ID yawe nitukusindikira sente ezi muri egi bank rundi obuzikuba sente ziri ntaito noso kutugamba tuzikusindikira hasimu tukibalizeho ngu esimu enamba inekuba eri mabara gawe otaleta katusime Kate kandiwe niwe katusime James hati yaho no bikutandikira kusoba so enamba yawe esimu inekuba mabara gawe ekikaguze kya kabiri babaye bakigarukiremo betinja kuongera kigarukamu no banza watunga milioni 10 banka bwekuba yakinga mubiro hagati ya 7 na 14 titukutwara bwire bwingi kuzikuha. Then obu nkirusikira ogenzere mu banka wa updating ebintu byawe wabitayo ebi national aid nkokweri nukweri genda okebere banka zigumanziranga baitu ebimu mubireka numanya tibiri byamani baitu banka bwekingi nywena mwijana mwiruka genda hati okene obwire bwawe o updating account yawe bagumane baranga mwije mu updating gendayo oje updating. Then milioni 2 nahija kubaho ekibakweta liquidation mu rutoro nuko kukora ki chair nko kutunda ebisigaire bya bankegi hati nka Crane Bank iyo etatundibwe ebintu bitatundwa habwokuba bakagisindika mu bankendi baitu kakuba yabaire yo kutundibwa okusangire nekizimbe kya Crane Bank Photopoto branch nakyo mbakitunda kumekinga sure ngo buli sente yona eseme kurugayo bagitunga basasule customer wabaire ne musente ekitukwenda kumalira nakyo tokwija kutunga sente yao yona etakuhairwe no hakuba hawabwire sente zawe zona ezoboire ne banka nizikuhebwa tokwija gamba ngo hati abo bakanyaga nangu buriye musente ne kuhebwa. For a quick translation in English, for a bank when it closes, where do we find you? DPF has an office at Aha Towers on Laude Road. Abamanyire Ministry of Health tulihinayo mu Kampala. Tukatungire branches akuba kitongere kicyali kitokito nikikura baitu noho kusangwa banko bwe kukinga nturangira hama radio gona go mwihanga liona buliyomu na kwaho. Then for the second sorry I went back, sorry I was used, but it is we have an address we shall also announce on all radio stations, newspapers. You can't fail to know when a bank has closed. Then for question 2 they had already answered for those above 10 million on how you'll get the money after liquidation. Thank you.
Mwebale muno. So there was the question on banks where people lose their money. How does the DPF help? And I'd like Balam to answer that question. Where there is fraud in the bank, maybe fraudulent withdrawals from the ATM and so on, how does the DPF come in to help?
Okay. Now, in the event that there are some fraudulent activities or withdrawals from your account, and these are banks which are in operations, they are active. So as DPF, we deal with the banks that have been closed. Now for active banks or banks that are in operation, Bank of Uganda is the one that is in charge. So we encourage you to approach Bank of Uganda, and here there is a branch, Bank of Uganda branch. You approach them and you talk to them, and they will be able to assist you. Now, for the cases where you had some money in a bank that was closed, that's where you need to come in, to come to DPF, and we will be able to help you. We also have our contacts. The contacts are on these the standing things which are everywhere, and also on our website. Our website has info@dpf.or.ug. You can contact us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Balam. There was the other question on rumors and how can the DPF help. So we have Patrick Izaga to help us appreciate that.
Thank you, CEO. When it comes to rumors, our first advice is don't be a rumor monger yourself. First and foremost, because many a time, we the exposed, we who are a bit elite, you have the mobile phones and the rest. When you pass in the village and you're talking to those cousins and uncles who are not that exposed, what comes out of you is almost truth. And many a time, we are the ones who are actually at the forefront of the rumor mongering. So advice number one, for those of you in this room, don't be a rumor monger yourself, because you have capability to verify information. You can either call, you can go to Google, look for DPF, you will find the contact of Director Combs, you will verify. But when you start from, have you heard? You're not helping the sector, okay? And then secondly, for us, what we're trying to do is, through these engagements, we are trying to get out as much as possible to the depositors themselves. But we also work with these banks. How do we work with the banks? In every banking hall, you are supposed to see some documentation about DPF. We also work with their frontline staff to ensure that they share information that is up to date and correct with the depositors. Thirdly, Bana RPC and your team, you have seen people recording themselves in your banking halls. So some of those issues now, I don't know how the law comes in, but I think it's about vigilance. It's about vigilance, because if somebody now has sat in his compound and is recording a TikTok and then it goes viral, those are now matters that the law comes in and takes over. But bottom line is, please do not listen to rumors, and where you have an opportunity to correct a rumor, many of those messages you forward. Some of you forward before you even read the last paragraph. You have just read the first paragraph. You are being an accomplice. I submit.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And just to say that no one should tell you that Bank C is going to be closed. Because when a bank is going to be closed, even me, I don't know. I know when the bank is like 10 minutes about to be closed. So no one should deceive you that they know that a certain bank is going to be closed. So dismiss those as rumors. And usually they are rumors perpetuated by another probably bank or a disgruntled person who wants that bank to collapse. And why will a rumor collapse a bank? Because remember, when you put your deposits in the bank, the bank gets that same money and lends out to loans, isn't it? So it's the same money that you go to the bank and say, I will pay over 2 years, I'll pay over 3 years. But someone put their money. So the banks have understood the behavior of their depositors. So they always keep, they know, every day, these are the number of deposits we pay out. And that's what they keep. Then the rest, they give out in loans. Now, the day you all decide to go to the bank at once, the bank will not have the money. And yet the bank is performing well because it's part of its business model to lend out. So rumors, very deadly. And disassociate yourselves from any rumors, especially those ones of a bank closure. Because even me, who handles a bank closure, I will get to know 10 minutes before the bank is closed. Thank you. We thought that it would be wise for our branch manager, Bank of Uganda, to explain to the people how they can manage their complaints, the complaints that they have against probably banks. Does Bank of Uganda, does it have a window where they can help, or do they remain with the bank and stay with the bank the way it is? Just clarify.
Thank you, Julia. So I want to begin off by thanking you, DPF, for bringing the message home. Thank you for coming to us to help us understand more what you do. Possibly everyone else would probably know what Bank of Uganda does, but now they know how our partner institutions do, what you do and what we do. And so thank you for being, for ensuring and contributing to financial stability in the sector. Then I want to, first of all, add my voice to chairmans to encourage us. I know, of course, like he said, most of us here probably will already be banked, but we meet with people out there who keep money in their houses, under their pillows, under their beds, in various places. So I want to ask us to be ambassadors when we go out, to encourage people to bank their money, because the money is safe, as we've been told. If a bank goes under, they'll get their money back because there is a insurance by DPF. So please encourage people to bank their money. Yesterday there was a release of the FinScope survey for 2023, and it was quite revealing about, I think I have the chart here if I can find it easily, but the figures were really, but the financial inclusion is not at a good level in Uganda. When we were comparing ourselves to the region, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and about 32% of Ugandans do not have any kind of banking. They don't bank, they don't use mobile money, they don't use village circles. 32% is a big number. They just keep money in their beds. That's a big number, really. That would mean your grandmother, my grandmother are all keeping money in their houses. So let's be ambassadors and encourage people to go out and bank. I want to then back to the issue of well, we've had a number of people mention that there are issues with commercial banks. We, as Bank of Uganda, we do supervise commercial banks. That's our mandate. And so we also respond to any issues that the customers have with the commercial banks. Occasionally at Port Portal branch, we receive complaints from various customers. And I always call these guys, these and some who are not here, to come in to understand where the issue is. And a number of times I've actually resolved issues even before sending them to Kampala. So we have 10 branches across the country, including one in Kampala. But also we have a desk at head office in Kampala charged with responding to customer complaints. So any issue you have regarding a commercial bank, perhaps you've paid your loan and they're not giving you back your land title, or they are playing any games that you assume are funny games, please reach out to us. We're always available to respond to your issues. If we can't handle the issue, we send it to head office. And the banks don't like things going to head office, because when they go to head office, they also go to their head office. So we prefer to resolve them before they go to Kampala. We are available, we are always open. It's open door policy. The Bank of Uganda, although you will see many soldiers and policemen around, is actually a public institution, so it's open to everyone. You just come in, we'll listen to whoever comes in. Thank you.
Lining up with a gentleman who said, but DPF, why are you now coming to tell us about protection? Are you trying to tell us that banks are about to close? I told him, no, this is something we started, like the chairman has explained. DPF was created in 2017. We started operationalizing it. By 2019, we started going out to the public, telling them to give us NINs, give us alternative modes of payments. And those who gave us that information, especially those who happen to be in EFC, we paid them very fast. So this is an ongoing exercise. It should not create panic in you, but it should inform you, like I've said, know your financial institution better. Also, my chairman has asked me to explain the logo that you see here. I think one of us wanted to know what exactly each of these colors and the symbols mean. So I'll start with the colors. So this color is gold, and this is to signify wealth, because when we're protecting your hard-earned wealth, your money. So that is why the board chose that as a very significant color for the fund. Purple is associated with royalty. People who are royal, and we must be having some here, are very gentle, focused, calm, organized, and they don't want to disappoint the subjects that they are taking charge of. Same as us. We want to ensure that if a bank is closed, you don't panic. Life continues as normal. Then we have this. This is an umbrella, because we protect you from the rain. We protect you in case that bank closes up to the 10 million. Inside here, those of you who work with commercial banks, you should have seen, I'm sure you can recognize this is a vault, how we open up the vault to get the money to pay you, the depositors, or how we protect the money that you have put in the vaults of the bank. So you can look at this in two ways, getting money out or protecting the money. Then this is a shield, and in Africa, a shield is associated closely with protection. And so those were the symbols that were chosen by our board led by the board chairman, and the colors too. But at this juncture, maybe I'd like to call upon my board members. I'm sure we are the foot soldiers, so we have answered the questions you had in the best way that we thought was possible. But you know, the elders are always wise. And the chairman is one of the wisest people in the region. So we would like to give them an opportunity maybe to add on or to give more words of wisdom to all of you. Thank you.
I think we should all pray for wisdom, isn't it? Normally say, God, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And a discerning mind is very important. Every day we should pray. All of us are wise, definitely. So it is God-given, and it is there for us to ask. But there is a question which I don't remember being well answered. I will ask Director Roy to elaborate more on that.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mureire mta. Empako yanje abori. Chair has requested me to clarify. There was a question which is very important and also hinges on one of the reasons why we are here and also affects the business of financial institutions, losing customers' money. Principally, when a customer walks into a bank and deposits their money there, they do so on the basis of trust. And I think, as Mr. Murungi has said, the relationship that exists between a bank and a depositor is that of trust. Because the customer doesn't know who even owns this bank, but they are depositing their money in hope and in trust that as and when they walk into the bank, they'll be able to access their money. So trust is the linchpin between the business of banking, that is between the bank and the customer. So what happens if the bank loses or the customer is unable to be connected with their money? So usually in such and I think the person asked, how does DPF help to protect such a customer? In the presentation and in the flyers that we put on the tables, I think it's been made very clear that DPF is not a direct protector of depositors. But in the event, should that event happen, then of closing a bank, then DPF becomes the front line worker. You remember that term during COVID, front line worker. In the event of a bank closing. So if a bank has not yet closed, I think Mr. Murungi is still the frontline worker for that depositor to help mediate between the bank and the customer. And I think Bank of Uganda has also a department that handles customer complaints, and even financial institutions, there are what we call the prudential guidelines that Bank of Uganda gives each of these financial institutions that they have to follow while they are conducting banking business. So it is those prudential guidelines that help to protect depositors, because deposit protection comes in when a bank is closed. But Bank of Uganda is charged with a bigger mandate through supervising these banks of continuing to protect depositors. Chair, I don't know if I have ably clarified. Yes, thank you. And so, in a nutshell, if a customer is unable to access their money when through maybe frauds or, allegedly associated with a bank, then it's the bank that remains liable. The bank now has, I think all banks have their own internal processes. They'll investigate, and when they reach a certain conclusion, They'll either shoulder the liability because that's what they promised you, that you're depositing your money in this bank. As and when you need your money, we shall give it to you. So the bank remains liable. DPF will only come in when a bank is closed. The moment Bank of Uganda closes the bank like this, then the next call, like Dr. Julia said, is to her. That please, we've closed this bank, now come and take over. Thank you.
Has not been recovered from liquidation. That is why you should not be one of those people worried about liquidation, by the way. You are an informed depositor. Not all the banks are going to close, and all the banks are operating very well and they are strong. But you don't rule out one or two, and you should not be that depositor in those one or two banks. Now, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know, but what we're saying is you know your bank and be confident about the bank. So for the others who have 10 million and below, you see they'll not be worried about liquidation because all their money will be paid. So if you have, that's why we're saying if you have 10 million and below, no problem. If you have above 10 million, open your ears and read about your bank from credible sources, not rumors, TikTok videos. Someone will circulate a TikTok video, ABCD, about to close. Then you start rushing. No, from credible sources. Like the chairman and my board members have told you, even me, I will not know until the bank is a few minutes to be closed. That's when I'll know a bank is being closed. So you have 10 and above, know your, go away saying know your financial institution. Because remember, the banks are also businesses. And they can be managed well or maybe not managed well. The way the Bank of Uganda will explain to you, the banks are like people. So you'll have healthy people, you have some sick people, and you have people who are sicker. Some of them will recover from the medication, but some will die. That is why for you, they are publishing this information. April is a month for publishing information. Know your financial institution. Thank you.
Let's put in numbers. It keeps growing. There are just above 24 million bank accounts. Okay? We remember that? How many? To allay your fears. Now, out of 24, okay, I'm being corrected here. 23 million are below 10 million. Have you got it? Now, let's break down even further. The 10 million. Of the 10 million, you'll find maybe 200 are below 20. You go say another 300 are below 50. Now you find 300,000, correct? 300,000 are above 100 million. Would you worry about people who have over 100 million? Whom would you worry about more? Eh? We are looking at risk. We are looking at risk. Now, somebody who has over 100 million, like you, I'm sure, like quite a number of people here, is risk averse, is extremely intelligent. He will not have one account in one bank. If I find you with 500 million in the account, we've seen, of course, you find people with billions, okay? But why would you keep all that money in the bank? Those banks will get that money, invest it in treasury bills. Free money, 12%, 14%. Why can't you also do the same? It's risk-free. So the people with lots of money, you find they have distributed their risk. And they are quite intelligent to know what is happening in the sector. They are very intelligent. They will know how to distribute. Now, what she didn't also tell you is that she monitors all the financial institutions to see how they are performing. Satisfactory, satisfactory, and satisfactory, Okay? Then we go there, say, you know, here, things are not good. And we impose a fine called risk-adjusted premium. And then we say, under watch. Same as the central bank. So although she doesn't know when the hammer will fall to close, but we know. And quietly, in our back office, we start simulating. But we use A, B, C, D. We don't mention the name, just in case one staff decides to maybe put on TikTok. So we monitor. Whatever happens, even EFC, although we didn't know the day, it was not a surprise because it was under watch. Nothing takes us by surprise. It's only the day, but we're always ready. That's why the IT systems are always ready. The people in operations are always ready. They keep monitoring all the customers to see that all their particulars are in order. What do you want to add on? Okay, I thank you.
But I have been requested with the authority of the chair that after all this gathering, it would be unfair not to give the slightest opportunity to any of the banks that is here. Is there anything that has been, is there a message you want to share? You know you are partners, because I know that in a platform like this, maybe most of the message has been a take-home. You have had, but this town hall has been a bit fair. We have been to town halls where banks have been put in the crosshairs. I think you guys here are doing fairly well. Today it has not been that aggressive. The others have been quite rough. So maybe the banks that are here, you're doing a good job, but thank you very much. We thought it is important to just put it on record. As I indicated earlier, we have a wrap-up and thank you from Director Roy, who is going to give you a vote of thanks. And after that, we shall then sing the anthems. But maybe before I give her the floor, a quick announcement is that our lunch has been set in 2 locations. The hotel facility, they have restaurants which are certain sizes, so they'll split us into 2. It's the same menu, don't worry. The food, the lineup is exactly the same. It's just a structural issue that the restaurant cannot take all of us in one place. So there is a restaurant on the lower side, and I think there is another restaurant on the upper side. I am being informed that, so to make it easier for you to know where you're going, there are black coupons. The people, if you have a black coupon for a meal, you go to the gardens. Those with the orange coupon, there is a restaurant up here. That's where you'll have your meals. May I invite you, Director Roy, for the vote of thanks, and we wrap this up.
Good afternoon once again. There are some, I think there are feedback forms that have been circulating around. We request that you take time to fill them in because they inform how best we can improve these public awareness engagements. So my task is very simple. I would like to, on behalf of the board, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to this August House, the leaders who are here. You will notice that public awareness should extend to the general public, but we do not have the capacity to engage everybody. So what we do is we select key stakeholders who we believe become our ambassadors to spread the deposit insurance message. Because from the presentations, deposit insurance is part of the financial system, and it is here to stay given the historical issues that led to the collapse of banks. So ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much, but our parting shot is we humbly request that whatever you've learned here, the lessons you've picked, we request that you go and cascade them down, because each and every entity which is here is representing a bigger public. The religious leaders have a wider community that they represent, the banks, the SACCOs, the regulators in terms of Bank of Uganda kindly relay the message of deposit insurance, because then as the message trickles down, then we know we shall all be building a financial system that is stable, and then we shall be building confidence in the financial sector, which is the ultimate goal. So I thank you so much for sparing time. We thank the DPF team that has worked tirelessly to see that this town hall is a success. I believe it is a success. We thank of course, the DPF team was led by the CEO. We thank you, Chairman, for leading the board, and we pray that as we enjoy the meal, it will nourish our bodies, and as we go back, those who are going back to their respective destinations, God will give us a very good journey mercies. Thank you so much for listening. Kindly take the flyers, and we believe you go back wiser in matters related to deposit insurance. Thank you so much, and may God bless us all.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, O Allah, the protector and the sustainer, we humbly ask you for your blessing upon the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Grant wisdom to those entrusted with its management. Guide their decisions to safeguard the financial security of the people and protect the savings of depositors. O Allah, the most merciful and compassionate, we turn to you in gratitude for the existence of the Deposit Protection Fund in Uganda, which provides reassurance and security to the depositors of financial institutions. We beseech you to shower your blessings upon this fund and all those involved in its management and oversight. Grant wisdom, integrity, and foresight to the leaders and administrators of this fund, enabling them to fulfill their responsibilities with diligence and honesty. Guide them in making decisions that uphold fairness and justice in all their dealings. O Allah, protect the savings and investments of the people of Uganda through the mechanism of this fund. Shield them from financial losses and uncertainties, and grant them confidence in the stability of their financial institutions. Bless the effort of those who work tirelessly to maintain the strength and effectiveness of the Deposit Protection Fund. May their dedication and commitment be rewarded, and may their work contribute to the prosperity and well-being of the nation. O Allah, the knower of the things seen and unseen, we acknowledge that you oversee all the matters, including financial security. As we entrust the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda into your care, we ask you for your guidance, for your divine protection and guidance. O Allah, grant strength to everyone in this room so that they can further go and spread this information so that people can be aware of what is taking place. May the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda continue to serve as a beacon of stability and security in the financial landscape, reflecting your divine mercy and compassionate for all your creation. Amen.